From the moment you were born, you were taught a lie. Not a malicious lie, not one spun out of cruelty or deceit, but a misunderstanding that has been passed down through generations, from parent to child, friend to friend, teacher to student. You were told you are human, that you are this body, this mind, these thoughts. You were given a name, and that name became your identity. But what if I told you that none of this is the truth? The you that you think of, that you relate to, that you've built your entire life around, this you is not human. It never was. Awakening to a truth you've always known. The real you is something far more eternal, far more expansive. What if, for just a moment, you allowed yourself to consider that the body you inhabit, the mind that chatters on endlessly, and the emotions that rise and fall like tides, they are not you? This isn't a new idea. In fact, it's been whispered across the ages, from ancient spiritual texts to the parables of philosophers. You've likely felt it at times too, a distant, quiet knowing that whispers when the noise of the world fades away. In those still moments, perhaps you've felt a presence that seems greater than your physical self, a presence that remains unshaken by the worries, anxieties, and distractions that come with being human. That presence, that quiet observer, is the real you. Consider the ancient parable of the bird in the cage. A beautiful bird is trapped within a cage, and for as long as it remembers, the cage has been its world. The bird sings, eats and sleeps all within the confines of this small metal structure. It grows to believe that the cage is its reality, and in many ways that the cage is part of its identity. Yet beyond the bars, there is an entire sky waiting. The bird, in truth, was never meant to be confined. It was born for something much greater, much freer. You too are that bird, and your human experience is the cage. The real you, the soul, was never meant to be limited to this physical existence. The soul is eternal and far beyond the boundaries of the body. In Hindu philosophy, the concept of Atman speaks of the soul as the true self, the essence that is never born and never dies. Atman exists beyond the material world, unaffected by the constant changes of life. In Christianity, there's the idea that we are not of this world, a notion echoed when Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world," John chapter 18, verse 36. These are not random teachings. They are threads of truth woven into the fabric of human understanding. They all point to the same realization. The body is temporary, but the soul is forever. Imagine now for a moment that you are standing in front of a mirror. When you look at your reflection, what do you see? A body, a face, maybe a few features you like and a few you don't. You might see age, stress, or maybe even confidence and beauty. But is that really you? Strip away the body. Imagine that you're no longer confined by skin and bones. Who is left? What remains? If you've ever lost yourself in deep thought in a dream or even in an intense emotional experience, you may have noticed how the body fades into the background. What remains is pure awareness, a presence that simply exists, untouched by whatever is happening to your physical form. This awareness is the essence of your soul, the real you, the eternal you that existed before you were born and will continue to exist long after your physical body has faded. But how did we forget this? How did we come to believe that the body, the mind, the emotions, this temporary existence is who are we? Think about the conditioning we go through. From birth, we're taught to identify with our bodies. When you were a child, people marveled at your tiny hands, your cute face, your bright eyes. As you grew older, your accomplishments were tied to your physical presence, your grades, your talents, your relationships. The body and mind became the central focus of your existence. You were told to be yourself. But in reality, that message was more about being the person society expected you to be. Yet, deep down, you always knew this wasn't the full truth, didn't you? There were times when you caught a glimpse of something deeper, something unshakable within you. Perhaps it happened in nature, where the beauty and vastness of the world made your personal worries seem so small. Or maybe it was in a moment of stillness when the noise of your thoughts quieted and something timeless emerged from the silence. This isn't to say that the human experience doesn't matter. It does, but it's not everything. The human body, with all its sensations and desires, is like a vehicle. It carries you through this life, but it is not the driver. You are the driver, the soul, and the soul is vast. It is infinite. It is connected to something far greater than this world, something that goes beyond the stars, beyond time, beyond everything we can see and touch. You are not the limitations you face. You are not your suffering. You are not your triumphs. You are not your failures. All of these are part of the human experience, but they are not part of your true self. The soul observes these things and learns from them, but is never defined by them. The famous Sufi mystic Rumi once said, "You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop." This speaks to the boundlessness of the soul. You are not just a small, insignificant part of this universe. You are connected to the whole of it. You are a reflection of something much larger, much more powerful. The soul is that reflection. It is the spark of the divine within you, the source of all life, of all being, the illusion of human identity. If you've started to question what it means to be human, you're not alone. Many people reach a point in their lives where they feel a deep inner pull, a nagging feeling that something is missing, that the life they're living isn't the full picture. That tug on your heart, that whisper in the back of your mind, is your soul calling you to remember the truth. The illusion of being solely human is something we've all been taught to accept without question. But what if we paused even for a moment to question that illusion? You see, this human experience, this world, is like a grand stage. Think of it as a play, a temporary performance in which your body is the costume and your life circumstances are the setting. But the essence of who you are, the real you, is the actor, the soul. Yet somewhere along the way, you forget that you're the actor, and you become so absorbed in your role that you begin to believe you are the character. In ancient Hindu philosophy, this idea is expressed through the concept of Maya, which is the illusion or veil that covers the true nature of reality. Maya convinces us that the world of appearances, this physical, material world, is all that there is. But this is a trick, a distraction. Beneath Maya, there is a deeper reality, one that cannot be seen with the eyes or touched with the hands. It is a reality that can only be felt through the soul. Think about the experiences you've had in life, those moments that seemed so real, so consuming. Perhaps it was a time of great joy or deep sorrow. At that moment, you may have felt like the emotions were everything, like they were consuming you entirely. But as time passed, didn't those feelings fade? The joy or sorrow that once felt so overwhelming eventually became a memory, something you could look back on but no longer live within. This is the nature of human life. It is fleeting, always changing. Yet through all of those changes, something within you remained constant. That unchanging part of you, that stillness beneath the waves of emotion, is your soul. Buddha once shared a parable about a man crossing a river. To get to the other side, he builds a raft. The raft serves its purpose well, carrying him safely across the water. But once he reaches the other shore, does he continue to carry the raft on his back? Of course not. The raft was necessary for the journey, but it was no longer needed. In the same way, your human identity is like the raft. It helps you navigate through this physical life, but it's not meant to be carried forever. At some point, you must recognize that you are more than the human identity you've been carrying. This doesn't mean that the human experience is meaningless. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The human experience is rich with lessons, growth, and opportunities for the soul to evolve. But it's important to remember that these experiences are like waves on the surface of the ocean. They rise and fall, sometimes calm, sometimes stormy, but beneath them, the ocean remains vast, deep, and unchanging. That depth, that vastness, is your soul. What would happen if you began to live your life from this deeper perspective, if you allow yourself to remember that you are the soul, merely experiencing life through the lens of a human being? The shift in perspective would change everything. Suddenly the struggles you face would seem less permanent, less all-consuming. The worries, fears and doubts that plague your mind would lose their power because you would understand that they are part of the human role you are playing, not part of your eternal self. The Greek philosopher Socrates famously said, "Know thyself." It's a simple phrase, but its meaning runs deep. To truly know yourself is to recognize the soul within, to see past the surface of your human identity, and to connect with the infinite presence that you are. This process of self-knowledge is not always easy. It requires peeling back the layers of conditioning, the beliefs you've inherited from society, and the labels you've adopted over the years. But with each layer you remove, you get closer to the truth that you are not human. Many spiritual traditions talk about this process of awakening, of coming to realize the soul's true nature. In the ancient texts of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks to the warrior Arjuna, telling him that the soul is eternal, never born and never dying. The soul is neither slain nor slain, Krishna says, reminding Arjuna that the battle he faces on the physical plane is temporary, but the soul remains untouched by death or destruction. The Gita teaches that the soul is unchanging, ever-present, and beyond the reach of the physical senses. This is the truth you are being called to remember. In modern times, many people have had experiences that point to the existence of the soul, often in moments of near-death experiences or profound meditation. These experiences show us that when the body is at its most fragile, the soul remains aware, untouched, and fully present. People who have had these glimpses of the soul often describe it as a state of pure awareness, of feeling more alive than they ever have, even while their bodies are on the brink of death. This shows us that the body and the mind are not the source of life. The soul is. Now let's explore this idea from another angle. Imagine a beautiful grand mansion with countless rooms. You've been living in one small room your entire life, unaware of the vastness of the mansion that surrounds you. The room is comfortable. You've decorated it to your liking, and you've grown used to its walls. But one day, you discover a door. Beyond that door is a hallway, and beyond the hallway, room after room that you've never seen before. Suddenly, the small room you've been living in feels so tiny, so limiting. You realize that the mansion is far greater than you ever imagined. The room is your human identity, the mansion is your soul, and the door, that door is the awareness that you are more than your body, more than your mind, more than this temporary experience. Once you open that door, once you begin to explore the vastness of your soul, everything changes. So how do you begin this journey? How do you move from identifying with the human experience to recognizing the soul? It starts with awareness. It starts with questioning. Every time you feel caught up in the emotions, the struggles, and the victories of life, ask yourself, who is experiencing this? Who is the observer behind these thoughts and feelings? When you begin to observe yourself in this way, you create space between the soul and the human experience. You start to see that the soul is the observer, not the one caught in the drama of life. But there is one more illusion that has kept you bound, the illusion of time and space. Time is seen not as a straight line, but as a circle. The past, present, and future are not separate entities, but part of a single whole. The idea of linear time is a construct of the mind, a way to organize our experiences in a way that makes sense to us as humans. But this is only one way to perceive time, one that keeps you locked in a limited understanding of reality. Consider for a moment the nature of memory. When you recall a past event, where does it exist? It's not stored somewhere outside of you, but within your mind, brought into the present moment through your awareness. The same is true for the future. When you imagine something that has not yet happened, you're not accessing something distant and far away, but creating a possibility within the now. Past and future exist only in your mind, and they are accessible to you at any moment because they are all part of the same eternal present. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once said, "Life can only be understood backward, but it must be lived forwards." While this reflects the human experience of time, it also points to something deeper, the understanding that time, in its truest sense, is not linear. Our human perception forces us to live as though we are moving from one moment to the next, but on a spiritual level, all time is accessible. If time is an illusion, then so too is space. The two are intricately linked, and when one begins to unravel, so does the other. Space, like time, is something we perceive as external to us. We move through space, navigating the world around us, always seeing ourselves as separate from the objects, people and environments we encounter. But what if space, like time, was not something out there, but something that exists within you? Quantum physics, a field that seeks to understand the deepest workings of reality, has already begun to reveal that space is not as fixed as it seems. At the subatomic level, particles can be in more than one place at the same time. They can influence each other instantaneously, no matter how far apart they are in space. This phenomenon, known as quantum entanglement, suggests that the fabric of space itself is not as solid or separate as we once thought. Instead, everything in the universe is interconnected, part of a single unified field of consciousness. The unseen forces. There are unseen forces that shape our reality. These are the forces that work behind the veil, guiding, influencing and manifesting the world as we perceive it. Many of the world's spiritual traditions speak of these forces, though they are often described in symbolic terms: angels, spirits, cosmic energies or divine laws. But what they point to is something very real. Something that impacts you every moment of every day, whether you realize it or not. To understand these forces, we must first acknowledge a fundamental truth. Everything in the universe is energy. Modern science has come to understand this, but it's something that ancient spiritual traditions have known for millennia. Everything you see, touch and experience is vibrating energy, from the most solid objects to the most abstract thoughts. Your body is full of energy, your thoughts are energy, the world around you is energy, all vibrating at different frequencies, creating the illusion of solidity, separation and form. Yet beyond this dance of energy lies the unseen. These forces are not just passive elements of existence, they are the architects of reality. In Hinduism, this creative force is often personified as Shakti, the divine feminine energy that manifests the universe. In Taoism, it is described as the Tao, the invisible flow of life that moves through all things. In Christian mysticism, it is the Holy Spirit, the breath of life that brings the formless into form. No matter the tradition, the message is the same. There are unseen forces that move through all of existence, shaping it, guiding it, and bringing it to life. Now, let's explore how these forces interact with you, and how you, as a being beyond human, are part of this divine dance of creation. The first step in understanding this interaction is recognizing that you are not merely a passive observer of reality. You are a co-creator. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, and every intention you hold is like a brushstroke on the canvas of existence. You are constantly shaping and influencing the world around you, often without even realizing it. This is the power of consciousness, the power to create, to manifest, and to bring forth from the unseen into the seen. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how your thoughts and emotions can affect the world around you? Perhaps you've experienced a moment where you were feeling anxious and everything seemed to go wrong. Or maybe you were feeling joyful and found that everything just flowed effortlessly. This is not a coincidence. It is the unseen forces responding to the energy you are emitting, like attracts like, and the energy you project into the world comes back to you in the form of experiences, circumstances, and people. This is often referred to as the law of attraction, but it's more than just a popular idea. It's a fundamental principle of how the universe works. In many ways, It mirrors the ancient concept of karma, the idea that every action, thought, and intention you put into the world creates ripples that eventually return to you. But unlike the common understanding of karma, this is not about punishment or reward. It's about resonance. The universe responds to the vibration you are in, and it reflects that back to you. You are a creator, constantly in dialogue with the unseen forces that shape reality. Now, if you are a co-creator with these unseen forces, what does that mean for the idea that you are not human? It means that your power to create extends far beyond the limitations of the human experience. You are not bound by your body, your mind, or even the circumstances of your life. You have access to the same creative forces that shape the stars, the same energies that give birth to galaxies, and the same power that moves mountains and stirs the oceans. The ancient mystics knew this, and they taught that the key to accessing this power lies in stillness. In the Bible it is written, "Be still and know that I am God." This is not just a call to silence the mind. It is an invitation to enter into the flow of creation itself, to tap into the unseen forces that move through all things. When you are still, when you quiet the constant chatter of the mind and the distractions of the external world, you begin to sense this flow. You begin to feel the subtle currents of energy that shape reality, and you realize that you are part of that flow. You are not separate from it, you are it. But stillness is only the beginning. Once you have touched the flow of creation, the next step is to learn how to direct it. This is where intention comes into play. Your intentions are like seeds planted in the fertile soil of the unseen. When you hold an intention with clarity and focus, you are sending out a signal into the universe. The unseen forces respond to that signal, and they begin to align events, circumstances, and opportunities to bring that intention into form. This is the essence of manifestation, the art of bringing the formless into form. Yet there is a crucial element that must not be overlooked: surrender. While you are a co-creator with the universe, you are not the only force at work. The unseen forces that shape reality have their own wisdom, their own rhythm, and their own timing. To try to control or force your intentions into being is to resist the natural flow of creation. Instead, you must learn to hold your intentions lightly, to trust in the wisdom of the unseen, and to surrender to the flow. This is not about giving up or being passive. It is about aligning yourself with the larger forces at play and allowing them to guide you in the direction of your highest good. Embracing your infinite self. We have now arrived at the culmination of this exploration, the moment when we must come to terms with what it means to embrace your true, infinite self. The you is not human, and it never was. This truth is liberating but also challenging. It asks you to go beyond everything you've ever known about yourself, your identity, and your place in the world. It invites you to step into the vast unknown, where the limits of the ego dissolve and the boundaries of existence blur. But what does it mean to truly embrace your infinite self? First and foremost, it means recognizing that your true essence is eternal. The part of you that is infinite cannot be bound by time or space. It existed long before your body was born and will continue long after your physical form fades away. This concept is not new. Many spiritual traditions speak of the soul as the eternal aspect of your being. In Hinduism, the Atman is the soul, the eternal, unchanging core of your existence. In Christianity, this idea is reflected in the belief in the immortal soul that continues beyond death. Even in modern science, the concept of energy as neither created nor destroyed echoes this truth. Your essence is eternal energy, shifting and transforming but never truly ending. But to understand this on a deeper level, you must let go of the fear of death. Death is perhaps the greatest teacher of all, not because it represents an end, but because it forces us to confront the illusion that we are confined to this one physical existence. When we fear death, we cling to the ego's belief in separation. We fear the loss of our body, our personality, and our possessions. Yet when we recognize that the you is not the body, not the mind, but the eternal essence that transcends all of these things, death loses its power. It becomes merely a transition, a shift in form, not an end. This is where the paradox of the spiritual journey becomes clear. On one hand, you are infinite, timeless, and connected to the divine source of all creation. On the other hand, you are living a human life, with all the challenges, emotions, and experiences that come with it. To embody this paradox, you must learn to live from a place of deep presence and acceptance. The present moment is where the infinite and the finite meet. It is in the now that you can fully experience the truth of your infinite nature, while also embracing the human experience. Eckhart Tolle, in The Power of Now, emphasizes this point. He teaches that when we fully surrender to the present moment, the ego dissolves and we become one with the flow of life. In this state of presence, we are no longer ruled by the past or the future. We are no longer caught in the illusions of the mind. Instead, we experience the eternal now, where the true self can be felt not as a concept, but as a direct experience. In the end, this journey is not about escaping the human experience. It is about embracing it fully, while recognizing that it is only one expression of the vastness of who you truly are. The you is not human, and it never was. You are far more than that. An eternal being, woven into the fabric of the universe, connected to all that is, was, and ever will be. When you awaken to this truth, life becomes a dance, a flow, a beautiful unfolding of the infinite within the finite. And in that dance you find peace, freedom, and the deep, abiding joy of knowing who you truly are. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.